Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at Blumhouse's Truth or Dare. Here we follow a group of college students as they try to survive a deadly real-life version of the Truth or Dare game. As each of them gets their turn, they must reveal their deepest secrets or do extremely risky acts that put the group into danger. And in this video, we'll look at how to survive all the fatal dares to keep everyone alive. But before we get started with the story, we need some explanation of what's going on, because the movie reveals everything very slowly, and we require this information to know how to beat it. The game of Truth or Dare that's being played in the movie is possessed by a demon. One of the helpful characters lets us know that spirits can not just take over people, but also ideas. When it's your turn to pick, you will be asked to choose either Truth or Dare. The way it usually works is that someone near you will appear possessed and ask you to pick in a strange voice with this exaggerated smile.
Truth or Dare?
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon?
Truth or Dare?
When you choose Truth, it's pretty simple because you just have to answer honestly, but the dares are pretty dangerous and sometimes even deadly. However, the way the demon phrases the dares is usually so vague that they leave a lot of room for interpretation. It should be your goal to do as little as possible to technically complete the dare, yet causing as little damage and pain as possible. If you simply deny doing the dare or tell a lie when choosing Truth, the spirit will possess you and cause you to die. We also find out that you usually have a few minutes to complete the dare before the demon kills you. Okay, so let's get started. The movie opens with a young woman driving through Mexico, quickly rushing towards the border. She stops at a gas station to buy some cigarettes. When the cashier turns to her, he asks in a strange voice, Truth or Dare?
Truth or Dare, Giselle?
Please, I don't want to play anymore, please.
Truth or Dare?
A few moments later, she grabs some lighter fluid, pours it on another person in the store, and sets her on fire. The other shopper erupts in a big flame and burns to death. It's obvious that she picked Dare, but we don't actually hear what she had to do. Like I said, later on, we see that the dares are always stated in an extremely unclear way. So I'm certain that it was something simple like set the woman on fire, but it most likely involved nothing about killing the woman or using lighter fluid. If that's the case, she should take some time to prepare for completing the dare effectively. Since we see that she's at a gas station, there must be a fire extinguisher nearby which she can take. If the demon told her to use the lighter fluid, just don't use that much of it. Once the woman is lit on fire, she or the cashier can use the fire extinguisher to quickly rescue her so that she lives. After that, we cut to Olivia, one of our protagonists. She joins her friends for a week of partying in Mexico. In the intro, we see them having fun as we rush through their vacation. On their last night, Olivia meets a guy who introduces himself as Carter, and he seems really nice. When it's getting late, he invites the group to a mysterious place where they can party all night. Olivia convinces them all to go so she can hang out with him a little longer. They all accept and agree to Carter's plan. We see them driving far into the desert to a small isolated church on a hill. It's dead quiet inside and they're completely alone. Then Carter invites the group to play a game of Truth or Dare. A few rounds go by where they each reveal very personal information, which will come to haunt them later on. It's revealed that Olivia is secretly in love with Marky's boyfriend, Lucas, and Tyson, an aspiring doctor, is putting the lives of young students at risk by selling them forged drug prescriptions. Also, Brad reveals that he's gay, Penelope is dared to make out with Olivia, and Ronnie, who harasses all the girls, gives Tyson the weirdest lap dance ever.
Thank you, Rain Peso.
What's your pesos?
Eventually, Carter picks Truth and is asked what his intentions with Olivia are. He provides a bizarre answer mentioning how he needed a few gullible tourists to come here, because he's okay with strangers dying if it means he gets to live. Carter then gets up and leaves. As he walks away, Olivia goes after him and asks him what's wrong, but he only says that the game is real and they must follow the rules or else they die. The group thinks this is some weird joke and ignore it. In the following days, they all return to college and continue their life as normal. One day, when Olivia goes into the library to speak to Marky, she gets surrounded by a bunch of students looking at her with exaggerated smiles chanting Truth or Dare. Eventually, she picks Truth and is asked what secret her best friend makes her hide, to which she screams out loud that Marky always cheats on her boyfriend. Suddenly, everything goes back to normal. The other kids are no longer near her and have no idea what's going on. Marky's also quite confused and wonders why Olivia would share this information with everyone. What we saw here is that they're asked to pick truth or dare by demonic visions that only they can see. So there is a way to beat questions like this. When saying the truth, just say it really quietly so no one can hear. If Olivia would whisper the secret, neither Marky nor the other students would hear it. Now, I didn't come up with that. I've seen many reviewers mention this because it's quite obvious. Also, Olivia's in a library, so she should try to keep it down anyways. A few hours go by, and during the evening, Ronnie is at a bar playing pool. He tries talking to a girl when she suddenly also has that creepy smile. She asks him truth or dare, and Ronnie picks dare. He's told to get on the table and show the entire bar his, eggplant. He goes on the table to announce it to everyone, but when some girl in the back says that she has seen it before and wasn't impressed, he's very offended and doesn't want to do it anymore. Then Ronnie also has the smile and is seemingly possessed. A few seconds later, he jumps off the pool table and breaks his neck. We get another essential rule here: never turn down the dare, otherwise you will be possessed by the demon and die in a gruesome way. Since this is a pretty simple dare, all Ronnie had to do was show his pecker to everyone and he would be fine. However, a picture of it would be just as good. The dare mentioned nothing about Ronnie pulling his pants down, so he can quickly go to the bathroom, take a photo of it, and then go on top of the table and show it to everyone. This is an example of technically completing the dare, yet avoiding what the demon really wanted you to do. After Ronnie's death, Olivia is with her friends and tries explaining what happened in the library. Shortly after, they all get a notification on their phone. They see the video of Ronnie jumping off the table and breaking his neck. The girls believe that after playing Carter's game, they are somehow cursed and need to play this game or else they die. But Lucas doesn't quite believe them and just walks home. However, while he's on his way, he keeps hearing people whispering, even though nobody's around. Suddenly, the question of truth or dare is burned into his forearm. He picks truth, and after completing his turn, he calls Olivia to tell her that he too believes that this is real. Lucas then goes back to Olivia's place so they can stay in a group. Later that night, they try convincing Marky as well. However, she thinks that Olivia is simply making up an excuse for embarrassing her. Marky then gets a text asking her truth or dare. She picks dare, and it tells her to break Olivia's hand. Marky still thinks this is a bad practical joke, but Olivia stays serious and reaches for a hammer and tells her to do it. Marky isn't entirely convinced, but when Olivia makes fun of her father's death, she slams the hammer on her hand. For this one, there isn't a way out of it. Marky has to break her hand, but they go about it in the worst possible way. They should use the little time they have to complete the dare to go into the car and already go to the hospital so that Olivia doesn't have to wait to get fixed up. Also, the way Marky hits her is very unnecessary. From what we see, she hits her dead center in the middle of her palm, but the goal is not to cause as much pain as possible. So what you can do instead is break one of her finger bones, which is still considered part of her hand. This is much more effective than hitting her in the lower portion of the palm, as it breaks a lot fewer bones and causes much less pain. After the injury, Lucas and Brad take her to a hospital. While she gets her hand fixed, Olivia figures out that they're being asked in the same order that they played in Mexico, which means that Tyson's turn is next. However, he still doesn't know that the game is real, which means he could die if he's not careful. He's currently in a college interview which is going pretty well. Meanwhile, the others are rushing to him to stop anything bad from happening. When the interview comes to an end, the woman talking to him locks the door and asks him to pick. He chooses truth and is asked how long he's been forging prescriptions. But instead of telling the truth, he lies and says that he doesn't know what she's talking about. The woman goes back to normal, but then Tyson gets possessed. He grabs his pen and stabs himself to death. Now, when Tyson is asked about how long he's been forging prescriptions, he must follow the rules and tell the truth. However, he doesn't actually need to expose himself. Instead, he just needs to say the words 2 years, which is the correct answer. That's how long he's been doing it. But the interviewer didn't hear herself raising the question, since it's the demon speaking, not her. So all she would get is Tyson randomly saying the words 2 years without any context, meaning that his secret wouldn't be revealed, yet he still would have completed his turn successfully. Back in their house, Lucas says that the only way to survive is to always choose truth. We also see Penelope getting drunk by finishing a whole bottle of vodka. And this is already a critical mistake. Even though she just lost Tyson, who was her boyfriend by the way, the others should stop her from getting completely wasted. And it's because there's a demon after them waiting to exploit their weaknesses. This requires them to make good decisions and truly understand what they're doing, which she can't do when she's totally hammered. The others try researching Carter to see if they can get his contact info. They then stumble upon an article about the girl we've seen in the beginning. Her name is Giselle Hammond, who had gone missing after killing the woman at the gas station. They see this strange incident through surveillance footage. In the video, it's shown that the cashier is behaving normally. Only Giselle sees him as the deformed demon. When they complete the video, Olivia finds her on Facebook and sees a picture of her with Carter. Marky then writes her a threatening message telling her to meet up with them. Meanwhile, Penelope goes to the bathroom. When she looks into the mirror, she sees a demonic version of herself asking her to pick. She quickly picks truth, but the being tells her that's not how it works and to choose something else. Again, we don't hear the dare, but a few moments later she climbs up to the roof. Shortly after, her friends find her and watch from downstairs. Lucas decides to go up too so he can catch her in case she falls. Penelope tells them all that she tried picking truth, but it wouldn't let her, so she was dared to walk along the ledge of the roof until her vodka bottle is finished. Since she's already drunk, she can just barely walk in a straight line, so she must constantly balance to survive. Penelope walks along the roof and keeps drinking. While watching from below, Olivia tells the others to grab something to cushion the fall in case she drops. Brad and Marky go inside and return with probably the thinnest mattress ever and walk underneath her. However, eventually she walks over a locked gate with sharp rods. Olivia sees this and quickly decides to get her car to ram it down. As she's bumping into it, Penelope gets more insecure and continues shaking. Moments later, Olivia finally rams down the gate and they put the mattress on the car's roof. Suddenly, with the last sip of vodka, Penelope falls off the ledge but lands on the mattress and appears to be alright. So when she was up on the roof, Penelope revealed that she had to walk across the ledge while finishing a vodka bottle. Also, when Lucas climbs up to her and tries helping by holding her hand, Penelope shows that she isn't sure if it's allowed, meaning that the dare once again was phrased in a very unclear way. So one way of increasing your odds of surviving this one is by only walking in the areas where you're less likely to fall. At one point we see her leaning on the dormer of the roof, and since she doesn't immediately get killed, it's not against the rules. It's also shown that while sipping from the bottle, she stops walking. So Penelope should move extremely slowly while leaning on the window. She can also stop a lot to take sips from the bottle. This way she can finish the dare while not risking falling off the roof. Or she can simply walk back and forth while being over the grass to avoid the risk of falling on concrete. It's also better if she doesn't walk so close to the ledge. Sometimes she's much further away than others, meaning that it wasn't specified how close to it she must be. To make the dare easier, she should leave some space to the ledge so that she doesn't immediately tip over if she slightly loses her balance. After completing the dare, they get a message from Giselle telling them to meet up. Once they see her in a parking lot, the group asks her what's going on. Giselle tells them how they were also at the mysterious church, and because one of her friends, called Sam, trashed the place, he somehow released the demon. She also mentions why Penelope couldn't pick truth. It's because the version they played was 2 truths and a dare, so they can only pick truth twice before the next one has to choose dare and put themselves at risk of losing their life. Giselle then asks which one of them is Olivia. They ask how she knows her name, but before she answers, Giselle pulls out a gun and tries to shoot her. Penelope quickly jumps in front of the bullet so Olivia stays unharmed. Giselle, failing to have completed the dare, then shoots herself while being possessed. For Giselle to survive, there aren't that many options. After missing the shot, she mentions that the dare was to kill Olivia. If she only had to shoot her, she could reveal what the dare was so they can work together. Then Giselle can just graze her with a bullet so that Olivia wouldn't die from the shot. But since she had to kill her, that's not an option. Still, Giselle's approach was very flawed. She decided to complete the dare not quickly, but instead slowly pulling out the gun to let everyone figure out what she was doing. That way Olivia was able to be protected. An easier way to do it is to kill Olivia when she turns her back to Giselle while walking back to the car. That way none of her friends can save her. Anyways, the group goes back to Olivia's house to discuss what their next move should be. They recall that Giselle told them that all of this started with a creepy old church. So the answer to their problem probably lies there. Olivia then goes into her room to look for a charger, but gets asked by an intruder to pick truth or dare. Meanwhile, Marky and Lucas read about a nun that used to work there, and they think she can help. The two then hear Olivia screaming and run towards her. She informs them that she picked dare and was told to sleep with Lucas. Marky decides to leave because she doesn't want to watch her best friend doing it with her boyfriend. After she's gone, Lucas and Olivia have a surprisingly passionate love-making session. Then suddenly, Olivia strangles Lucas and asks him to pick. He's asked who he truly loves, and Lucas says that although Olivia is very special to him, he loves Marky. They then stop their dance with no pants and both of them are done with their turns. What's important to note here is that the demon didn't ask them for all this extra romance. That was all their choice. Meanwhile, Marky is sitting at a local restaurant watching a video of her dead father. Somehow the video then tells her to pick. It asks her a fairly harmless question that doesn't really advance the story in any way, so we'll just skip over it. We then see that Olivia and Lucas drove to Mexico to meet the old nun who worked at the church. Her caretaker says that she hasn't spoken a word in many years, but she will at least see them. It's revealed that she can't physically talk, so she writes some notes telling them how she accidentally summoned a spirit which possessed the game. They then also had to play, but were able to successfully find a way out. The person who releases the demon can trap it and stop the game with a simple ritual. All it takes is saying a particular spell 7 times, and cutting off your tongue and locking it in a jar. As long as the pot stays closed, the demon is trapped inside. And that's what the nun did. She shows them that she no longer has a tongue. From this we can tell that the being was released after Giselle and her friends partied in the church, and Sam, the person Giselle mentioned, accidentally broke the jar with a tongue inside, which then released the demon. Olivia and Lucas then go back home and think they will never be able to stop the curse since they have no idea how to find Sam. They go to Brad's apartment and talk to him. While telling him what they learned from the nun, his father enters and asks to speak to him outside. Brad then hears a voice through his radio asking him to pick. Since the last two chose truth, he must do a dare.
I dare you to steal his gun and make him beg for his life.
Brad then gives his dad a big hug, after which he takes his pistol. He tells his dad to get on his knees, but the father is just confused. The dad simply won't beg since he doesn't know what's happening. Then another officer arrives and shoots Brad in the back because he held a loaded gun in public. Now since they always have a few minutes to complete their dares, there was a way for Brad to live. He can quickly ask his dad to talk inside so they wouldn't be out in public. That way nobody could see what they're doing and the other officer wouldn't have shot him. After Brad's death, the remaining 3 meet up to talk about what they can do. Then one of the police officers wants to talk with Olivia to question her about what's going on. Throughout their conversation, the man explains how according to their investigation of the recent deaths, there are 4 more people alive playing this game, and he doesn't want any more to die. Since there are only 2 of Olivia's friends remaining, she asks who the 4th person is. The man tells her that someone named Sam is still around, which was the person that Giselle said released the demon. The officer shows her a picture of this guy, and it's Carter. Sam simply used a fake name with her. Olivia gets his contact information, and now the remaining 3 friends want to track him down. They want to force Sam to end the game by completing the ritual the nun told them about. This includes repeating the spell and removing the tongue. They then go to Sam's apartment and tell them that they found a way to stop the game, but they don't tell him about the tongue part. They drive down to the church to start the ritual to end this once and for all. Sam repeats the spell on the paper and the church begins to shake and slowly fall apart. While he's reading the lines, Lucas gets a vision of Sam asking him to pick, and Lucas chooses dare. We once again don't hear what the dare is, but we see him trying to walk away. Marky asks him what's up, and Lucas shares that it told him to either kill Marky or Olivia. His plan is to walk off so that he can't complete the dare and the girls live. While Marky and Lucas are talking, Sam finishes repeating the spell, after which Olivia tells him that he now needs to cut out his tongue to end it, and she can't do it for him. Sam obviously says no. We then see that since Lucas didn't do his dare, he becomes possessed by the being and tries to kill Sam so that he can't complete the ritual to trap the demon. But before Lucas can get to him, Marky tackles him to the ground. Olivia continues threatening Sam with a gun to do it, and he actually starts cutting it out. The possessed Lucas then frees himself and kills Sam before he can complete the ritual as well as himself. This situation would have been really easy to avoid. Lucas simply needed to pick truth instead of dare. The person who had to pick prior to him chose dare, so truth is an option. We see that it always takes some time for the next person to get their turn, meaning that if Lucas picked truth and completed his turn, Sam could have successfully completed the ritual since they would have enough time before it's somebody else's turn. Also, Lucas wouldn't turn into the demon and set out to kill him. Now he tells Marky that he picked dare because otherwise one of the girls needed to. But if he finished his turn, they could have completed the ritual and the curse would be lifted, meaning that the game is over and nobody would be asked anymore. So Lucas tried making himself look like the noble hero by picking dare. But it was a really bad choice that didn't benefit anyone. The group was only seconds away from getting rid of the demon. And if there's one thing we learn from horror movies, it's this: don't be the hero. You will probably save more people by being selfish. Anyways, after his death, there's only Olivia and Marky left, and the game is still on. Olivia comes up with a plan and tells Marky to pick Dare once she's asked. The dead Lucas asks her, and she follows Olivia's instructions. The dare is to shoot Olivia. However, Olivia tells her to not do it, as it's the only way to end the game. Marky turns down the dare, after which she gets possessed. Then through some fast hand movements, Olivia gets her to shoot her in the arm, but the bullet only grazes her. Olivia then asks the demon to choose truth or dare. She tells him that the dare is complete since she got shot. They're both in the church, and once you're asked, you're in. So by that logic, he must now also play. The demon picks truth, and Olivia asks her what they must do to be free. The answer she gets is that she must introduce new players into the game. If Olivia brings in, let's say, another 1,000 people, she will only get another turn after those 1,000 people already had theirs. She then starts a live stream in the church asking all of her viewers to pick truth or dare. Therefore, now all of her viewers are in. This final scene makes it clear how you can easily survive the curse. You simply need to record one video of yourself in the church inviting everyone to play, then share it on social media. Of course, you'd eventually run out of followers to show it to, as your friends and loved ones would slowly start dying. But there is a way around that. You can create a YouTube or Facebook video ad and then pay to spread it to everyone. The video seems innocent enough and doesn't seem to directly break any of YouTube's ad guidelines. They exist mostly to stop the spread of violent, shocking, or illegal content. However, none of that applies to a video of you asking to pick truth or dare, so it would most likely be approved. Then for about $1, you can get around 100 people to see it. Since there are new members joining YouTube daily, you would never run out of people to show the ad. So those are some ways to beat truth or dare. As always, let me know if I missed anything and how you would beat the demon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I get to see you in the next one. Bye guys.